Yay! We don't totally suck. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back. Right. We are back. Hence the title of the live stream being "We're Back." If you didn't know we're back, guess what? Backstreet's back.
I was like, you don't know the words to that song.
No, I know that part. I know at least that part. Kaylee, welcome in, and Kim.
Hello, Kim.
We have Kim too.
Oh, thank you for the sound check.
I appreciate all of our admins always letting us know. I promise we will not screw that up again. Intentionally, we won't screw that up again. We will not knowingly screw that up again. Oh my goodness, you guys, it has been too long. Welcome in. Welcome. What's going on? A lot, actually. We have a lot to talk about tonight. But what's going on in your lives? What's happening? What's been happening, I guess, for the past 60 days? Because we really haven't done a whole lot of live streams. We did like a mid-season.
We did the check-in like 3 weeks ago.
That was 4 weeks ago. It was a month ago.
YouTube said it was 3 weeks ago.
YouTube's always wrong. It was literally like almost to the day a month ago.
That we didn't have content because
yeah,
issues we will talk about in this live stream.
We will talk about them because this spooky season has been just a wild ride all the way through. And some things went exactly according to plan. Some things went better than we planned, and some things went significantly worse than we planned. So that's part of the travel game.
Oh, yes, holiday craft. I'm sure. Sure you have spooky crafts too, but holiday crafts.
Kim, for anyone who does not know, Soaring Over the Magic, she has her own little shop, and she actually makes ears, she makes keychains, she makes all kinds of little knickknacks, some of them Disney themed, some of them not. So if you haven't checked out her channel, her Instagram, and see any of her online shops, make sure you do that because she is crazy talented. And we definitely want to shout her out wherever we can. I think it's probably going to be a lighter night attendance-wise, which is totally fine because we've been off our game for so long. Like half the internet probably didn't even know we were doing a live stream tonight. So we'll go ahead and get started because we do have a lot to cover. And honestly, like we're covering 3 topics tonight. Any one of them could be its own live stream, but we've just missed so much that we wanted to just we've got other stuff we want to do the next live stream. So let's just cram it all in. So we're going to do our best. Alrighty, folks. As you know, we have social media presences. The Real Tim and Katie on Instagram and now Threads. Tim and Katie on Facebook. timandkatie.net is our website, which is chronically behind. We will fix that eventually. It won't be this week. It won't be next week, but it will be someday.
Maybe before 2024.
Maybe before 2024. I will say one thing. Actually, I'll say 2 things about our social media presences. Number 1, if you're not following us on Instagram, you may be missing out on some of the stuff we're doing because we've started this new thing where we don't always vlog everything we do all the time. And sometimes we travel places and we just put together a little reel instead of actually putting together. Vlogs take a lot of time. They really do. And they slow you down wherever you go. So when we went to Amsterdam at the end of our Efteling trip, we didn't vlog any of that. We shot a little bit of some of the stuff in between, and some of it will make it into our year-end highlight reel, but a lot of it was just reels. So if you're interested in seeing the whole canvas of what Tim and Katie do with their time. You can see a lot of that on Instagram.
We also do little polls and try to
we do
talk about other things we're doing. So if you'd like to engage with us outside of just watching the videos or the live streams, just join us on Instagram.
I've been trying to keep up with Threads. It's a new platform that's basically Twitter 2.0 if you're unfamiliar. It's hard to get into a new platform because you regiment all the other platforms so that you don't miss a post, and then you're like, oh, I forgot Threads today. So I'm not the best at that. I'm honestly not the best at Facebook either, but Instagram, if you're not following, please do check us out because we are trying to develop a presence there. I will say one other thing about social media, and that is that if you're not following us on Facebook or Instagram in particular, you're going to miss out on something really cool that we're doing this year at the end of the year for anyone who's following us as part of our push to what is very, very close to 2,000 subscribers. So stay tuned for more information. We're going to have actually a whole live stream about that the next time we meet. But for now, just know you need to be following us on one of these platforms. Preferably YouTube, because that's where most of our content goes. But Instagram and Facebook is where a lot of the additional information about the contest is going to go. So that's your tease. Now, we get into the meat. We get into the meat of everything we have to talk about. So 3 big topics tonight, right? Again, each one of them could be their own live stream if we had more time, but we don't because we missed a lot. We're making up for lost time. Holiday travel plans, our haunt season recap, and theme park news, because we have missed a ton of. Okay, we haven't missed it. We've been very much aware of the theme park news. We haven't talked about it at all. And as always, especially on the live streams, we have a lot of hot takes. So anyone who's in the audience who's tuning in, or maybe this is your first time tuning in, we would love to chat with you. So just like drop a comment in response to whatever we're saying. If you think we're lunatics for saying something or having an opinion about something, we'd be happy to discuss and collaborate with you. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and start with what I think is going to probably eat most of the time, to be honest, which is theme park news. There is a lot. There is a lot of theme park news. Honestly, if we covered everything, we would be here all night. Forget one live stream. It would probably take like 3 live streams just to get through everything. So we're not going to cover everything. We are going to cover a lot of stuff that happened recently and a lot of stuff that happened while we were out in the field for haunt season, roughly 65 days. There's been a lot that's been going on. So first thing, big thing, probably the biggest thing that's happened in theme park news for the last decade. I'm sure many of you will recognize Cedar Point. How do you all feel about it being Six Flags season Cedar Point? Like Six Flags apostrophe Cedar Point. Because
Six Flags over Cedar Point.
Six Flags over Cedar Point. Or what's it called? Six Flags Great Cedar Point.
Yeah.
Knott's Berry Flags? What? So if you're unfamiliar, and I can't imagine that anyone who's tuning in from the theme park circuit is going to be unfamiliar with this. This was huge news, and it walloped all of us. Like it was rumored maybe 48 hours. Maybe 48 hours ahead of the actual news. It was rumored. Like nobody had any whiff or imagination.
Really? I thought there were whiffs of it.
There were absolutely no whiffs. There was
I thought there was
No. You're thinking of SeaWorld and Cedar Point. Or SeaWorld and Cedar Fair. No, that was a whole different thing. And to be, we'll get to my hot takes. What happened was Cedar Fair, which owns all the Cedar Fair points, owns all the Cedar Fair parks, obviously, up and down the coastlines, all across America, West Coast, East Coast, Knott's Berry Farm, Cedar Point, Carowinds, basically anywhere you've seen Snoopy in a theme park, it's a Cedar Fair park. So all of those theme parks are now merging with all of the Six Flags parks, which is a little bit nuts. Nobody, as I say, we at one point, Cedar Fair and SeaWorld, which is not just SeaWorld, but also like all the Busch Gardens parks, they were talking about merging, or maybe, and I can't quite remember, I think it was SeaWorld made a bid to buy out Cedar Fair. And that was during a time when we were still on the upswing from the pandemic. So theme parks as a whole were not all recovering at an even pace. So Cedar Fair being kind of placed, you know, you think about like SeaWorld being based in primarily, realistically, Texas and Florida, where restrictions started falling away a little bit faster. SeaWorld made a quicker recovery than Cedar Fair did. That was early last year, the year before, somewhere in that. It all kind of blurs together at a certain point. So we all thought, maybe Cedar Fair is looking to trade up or, you know, merge, or maybe even might be sold off. That was a possibility. It stopped being a possibility when they rejected SeaWorld's bid. We all assumed Cedar Fair's got it, whatever they're doing. And we have mixed opinions about Cedar Fair parks to begin with. Like, this is a very controversial take. I don't think Cedar Fair has the strongest theme park game in the country. I
mean, they're amusement parks.
They are amusement parks. That is primarily it. I think Cedar Fair...
Knott's Berry Farm I would consider a theme park.
And that's the weird thing. Knott's Berry Farm, Carowinds, and what's the third one? Cedar Point. Duh. Those are the three big Cedar Fair parks where they tend to pour most of their budget. All the other parks, like King's Dominion is our local park.
Which, if they are pouring their budget into Carowinds, I'm not impressed.
I didn't hate Carowinds. I will
say the only
we just went in with
Cedar
expectations much
Fair
higher.
Park I've ever went to and loved
was Knott's Berry
Farm. I mean, we've been to King's Dominion several times and we enjoy some of the rides there, but it's not like, I feel like every time we go, I'm like, it's a little like less than. And the last time we went for Haunt, I guess we'll get there eventually, but like, anyway, like
it's not Disney. It's not like, Universal. I
feel like this merger and Six Flags, I thought was a little worse off than Cedar Fair. Maybe I don't know anything about economics, but based on just how their parks are kind of operating, I thought they were worse off. So I feel like this is like one crazy uncle joining up with the other crazy uncle.
And going on a hunting trip.
And like, you know, I don't know, like this
could...
feels gross to me. I don't know. Maybe that's too strong of a word to use.
Gross is a strong word, but I will say this.
Icky.
I follow a lot of coaster enthusiasts on Instagram. Now, we ourselves are first and foremost theme park enthusiasts. We love dark rides. We love atmosphere. We love just walking around in themed lands. But we do enjoy roller coasters. All the coaster enthusiasts, of whom Cedar Fair draws a massive quantity, because Cedar Fair, even though they are amusement park people, vendors? Owners? Amusement park. They're in the amusement park game more so than the theme park game. The coaster enthusiasts that I follow were largely not thrilled with this news. And there's a couple of reasons for this. Number one is that most people seem to share even if they don't totally voice it, most people seem to share our opinions that Six Flags as a franchise, parks on the whole, not all of them are equal, same as Cedar Fair. Mm-hmm. Like Cedar Point, Carowinds, and Knott's Berry Farm are, not for some reason, they put more money into it, right? But they're a cut above. Six Flags parks, there's a couple standouts, Magic Mountain and Great Adventure. I haven't even been
to a Great Adventure, I guess.
Yeah,
is kind Great
of Adventure.
A standout park. But that's the only
there's a lot
destination Six Flags.
There's a lot of redheaded stepchild Six Flags parks as compared to the Cedar Fair parks. There's a lot more of them.
They acquired a lot of tiny little parks.
Yeah. Which may have been better off under local ownership, but they just didn't have the money to support and maintain those parks, and Six Flags did, so they kept buying them out. So Six Flags winds up with a lot of backhaul corner of the wall parks with the Six Flags brand on it, and a lot of them really don't get the treatment that they deserve. They don't get and they all kind of fall. The thing about Six Flags and Cedar Fair both that I think is a weakness in them is that it's not none of the parks they own are truly befitting a one-size-fits-all model. They all fall under the same leadership model, under the same guidelines, under the same policies, but they're different types of parks because they acquire all kinds of parks all over. So Knott's Berry Farm, there's some kind of family dynamic still involved because it used to be a family park. It was bought out by Cedar Fair, and they've allowed the family to remain presence in how Knott's Berry Farm is run. And that, I think, is a big part of why Knott's Berry Farm is a standout park. Six Flags parks fall completely under Six Flags ownership the second they're bought out. And most Cedar Fair parks do too. So to condense this all down to reasons why people were not particularly happy, number one reason is because none of these amusement, well, we'll say, for lack of a better word, owners, none of these amusement park owners are managing their properties as well as they could be. I personally feel like SeaWorld is probably one of my preferred brands, SeaWorld and Busch Gardens. And that's because each park is, and this can be frustrating, don't get me wrong, but each park is kind of allowed to do a little bit of its own thing. SeaWorld in Orlando, the rules are largely similar to the rules that are offered at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, or held, I guess. But just different enough that it's its own park. It can grow in its own ways. It can keep its own pace. If it starts expanding, it doesn't mean that all the other parks have to expand, or they have to plant their flowers a certain way, or even like the policies with like on-ride footage. Like at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, you have to get a camera card. At SeaWorld Orlando, you don't. You just walk on, and if it's the right harness, it's the right harness. Like there's some differentiators that make each park unique and special. Cedar Fair and Six Flags, they really do. Even the special parks, the standout parks, they tend to all blend together because Cedar Fair has some brand identities that have to be met, or codes of brand identity, I guess, that have to be met. And the same for Six Flags. And now, as Katie said, like we've got a merger that may lead to the worst of both worlds.
Well,
it could lead to the best of both worlds. It could.
It felt like there was already neglected parks, or parts of parts being neglected, and then you go and add 30 more parks to your docket. I think,
well, not quite that many.
I don't know how many Six Flags parks
there's now 37 parks across the entire combined company. And Six Flags stood to inherit a lot more than Cedar Fair did, because Six Flags now has a stack of Giga coasters it never had. It has a lot of record-breaking coasters that Cedar Fair built up.
Certain, like, Six Flags, everyone knows, like Looney Tunes and DC Comics kind of IPs live there, and then
they don't just live there. At Six Flags, the IPs completely dominate, but they dominate in weird and not so wonderful ways.
Yeah.
Batman the Ride exists in like 13 different variations. Right. They're all different coasters. They're not, but the thing of it is, like, coasters themselves are like copied and pasted from Six Flags Park to Six Flags Park, and they just give them different names, but then they copy and paste the names over to different coasters so that each park, there's only one Batman the Ride that's like an invert Batwing style ride, but there's 16 different inverts, and there's 16 different Batman the Rides, and it just becomes kind of like, it's an unwelcome form of chaos. It's not like variety. It's like you go to a Six Flags park, you've been to 3 other Six Flags parks that are exactly like it. And really there's only a couple parks that are standouts that break apart from the pack. But Katie's right. I mean, the fact that they were already stretched pretty thin between each company, and they weren't showing every park the kind of care, the TLC that I think every park deserves, kind of makes us nervous about the ability to manage 37 different parks that all have different needs.
Just because like you've got 2 nickels in your pocket and I've got 2 nickels in my pocket, and then now all together we have 4 nickels, but we still have 30 children to feed. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm disappointed and apprehensive. I could be proven wrong. I will say that neither Cedar Point nor Six Flags holds my heart in terms of where I'm going to spend most of my roller coastering time. That goes to, shout out, Hershey Park and Busch Gardens Williamsburg. Those are parks. The smaller and Knoebels. And family owned. Knoebels, absolutely love that park. So like, I'm very apprehensive. I'm skeptical, slightly disappointed, but maybe it'll turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to either park.
Maybe. And let me be clear too, this is not going to stop us from visiting former Cedar Fair, now Six Flags parks. It's not. We're still going to go.
Is this merger official yet? Like, has it been like, it hasn't been signed, sealed, delivered,
no,
right?
They have announced the merger. This is another thing, and this is the secondary reason why a lot of theme park enthusiasts, well, coaster enthusiasts primarily, but theme park enthusiasts too, were kind of upset about this, is because competition in the theme park world is a good thing. The more competitors you have, the more forced you are to be creative, to think outside the box, to push the envelope with record-breaking coasters, so on and so forth. When you have what this is now, which is a monopoly in the industry, there's no competition, there's no reason to push the envelope because you are the only game in town. So
that means Hershey, keep going. You'll be the coaster capital of the world.
I think Hershey is working towards rivaling Cedar Point as the coaster capital, but that's a whole other live stream. The point of it is the monopoly that's been created is not final, right? It has been announced, it has been signed and sealed, but it has not been delivered. And it can't be delivered until at some point in 2024, the Federal Trade Commission approves of this merger. If it does not, and I personally, I'm not holding my breath because everything is topsy-turvy lately, but I think it's possible still that this merger is broken up because it creates a monopoly, because it's impossible for small locally owned parks to compete with the mass entity that is now Six Flags Cedar Fair. So it's possible that this all gets broken up. Now, having said that, the plan right now is for Cedar Fair's current CEO to assume the chair of the full company as the CEO, and the current Six Flags CEO will assume kind of command of the shareholders board. It's tough to say who's going to have more control because the money talks. I'm really hoping that Cedar Fair, which of the two I would say is the more trusted brand and probably the brand that most people would say is more trustworthy than Six Flags, I think that it's possible Cedar Fair as a whole improves the Six Flags brand. I think it's also possible that there's a lot of infighting and that both brands drag each other down. And that's what I'm worried about.
My final thought on this, because I don't want to belabor it the entire live stream, is I'm curious to see if the merger does go through, it's approved by the Federal Trade Commission, what the pass holder or pass system is going to look like. Because
you can pay $2,500 to get into 37 parks.
As of now,
for 6 months, and then you got to up.
You can do your own local season pass, and for both Six Flags and Cedar Fair, you can get like the premium pass that gets you into, I think, almost any Cedar Fair park and almost any Six Flags park. Because I know like Chad and Vanessa get into like Carowinds, Canada's Wonderland. That's another. It's
2 tickets to Adventure for anyone who's not following them.
Sorry,
but yeah,
I just said my friends' names. So 2 tickets to Adventure. They've been Cedar Fair premium holders, I think, for a couple of years now. I don't think that's the actual. It might be platinum. I can't remember the actual tier. But anyway, now you've platinum, added. Gold, are they going to continue that? Are they going to be separate entities but run under the same thing, kind of like how make Busch Gardens and SeaWorld are the same company but they're called Busch Gardens and SeaWorld still? I don't know.
The naming convention is going to be weird. I'm hoping that we won't have Six Flags as a subtitle or a pretext for every other Cedar Fair park that's listed out as they are right now. But I can tell you, for anyone who does not know, the details of this merger as they have been released is that Six Flags is going to remain the company name. So as a whole, across the entire merger, Six Flags is the new entity, or the entity that has expanded. Cedar Fair, whose stock initials are FUN, fun, they retain stock name. So in theory, they're all Six Flags parks now, but I prefer not to think of them that way.
At least they all have Coke products.
We'll see. I mean, both. I just don't know what to call them. I keep wanting to call them franchises, but I don't feel like that's technically correct.
I think it's a theme park franchise.
Both brands, for lack of a better term, tried to do some things similarly. The methodology was similar between them. Both of them tried to enact chaperone policies over the last 2 years. Yeah. Really 1 year, but 2 years of kind of workshopping it. Neither policy succeeded to the extent that they were hoping to, and it kind of just, if anything, it shifted the demographic a little bit. And now the demographic that they're trying to allure as a result of kind of cutting out the young adult audience and focusing more on the older adults who are coaster enthusiasts. Now, what are you going to do with the Looney Tunes brand, or what does Planet Snoopy have to offer us? Not a whole lot, because he won't let us on the rides. So it'll be interesting to see what they do as
I don't think they're trying not to. They want families with young kids who are being watched there. They don't want adolescents and young teenagers running amok.
Yes, but I think there were some bugs in the process of rolling that out.
I don't know. I think people are not just. There's no way.
We told you this was going to be a hot take live stream.
We could have a live stream on the chaperone policy. I'm just saying it's interesting to implement, but there's no way to enforce it. Like, at the ticket booth, you can say this child is 15, they need a chaperone, and the chaperone can say, yeah, we're good. And then you can walk through. Gone. So anyway.
Not exactly the most concrete of transition points, but we can't spend all night on this. So I will, just to wrap it up, I think Katie said it best at the beginning. It's two crazy uncles who have decided to go out on a hunting trip together instead of,
I didn't put the hunting trip thing. I said go into a business together.
I think hunting trip is more accurate. They're both going to shoot themselves in the foot. Anyway, additional news. For you guys who live in Florida, I imagine that sooner or later some of our friends in Florida are going to circle back to this live stream. So that's why I said you guys. Hey, you guys. Photo validation has been rolled out at Universal Parks. This is big news, not because it's particularly noticeable right now, but because it may become the mainstay at Universal and Disney parks. Instead of using a fingerprint scanner to enter the parks right now, and you can opt out as the sign says, so you don't have to do this, but if it's successful, if more people choose to do this, it will wind up being faster. It will clear people through without having to, handle the same device over and over again, and potentially spread germs. So I imagine this will be very popular.
I'm honestly surprised it took this long to roll it out.
Agreed. Yeah. It's Face ID, basically. You walk in, you scan your ticket, and then they scan your face. And your face goes with you everywhere your ticket does for the rest of the day. Now, in theory, and based on the policy that they've stated at Universal, your information will be deleted at the end of the day. Now, we can't say for sure that that's what happens because data doesn't necessarily work that way where the server is purged every night. But I imagine that most of us who use Face ID already know that our data is out there, so this isn't a huge inconvenience.
Doesn't Disneyland do this? They take your photo when you scan your ticket in?
Yes, but they do not use that Face ID elsewhere in the park. It's mostly to match, because your tickets are in your phone.
Right.
So it's more so...
It's just to make...
Universal still uses paper tickets. So it's if your ticket is lost, they can match your face to it so that they know, like, this person is not this person, and so on and so forth. Mandy!
Hello, Mandy!
What's up? Mandy, for anyone who is not familiar with this name, is a staff member, a leading staff member at Laurel's House of Horror. And they are gearing up for their Christmas event, which we may or may not be a part of. So definitely check them out on social and maybe possibly our videos.
Recognize my Mark House. It is a Mark House hat.
We are going to talk a lot about haunt season later on in this live stream, which is why we can't spend forever on theme park news. But there's more! All right. I only have one coaster picture, and this isn't even a picture of the coaster because they have not published images of the trains. But we have a lot of new coasters and a lot of coasters getting revisited and rethemed. So let's get into as many as we can. Bear in mind, IAAPA is going on right now. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's the theme park trade show of all theme park trade shows. It's happening right now in Florida. We have friends there. We are not there ourselves, so we're reliant on them to send pictures, and they've been pretty dutifully posting. So I will try to list everything that I've seen. However, we do not have pictures to show you, so you're going to have to do some of your own Googling. The Loch Ness Monster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, which is our home SeaWorld park, is being refurb, but also
kind of
rethemed. Yeah, they're adding theming elements. I don't know if there's going to be animatronics, but I'm really, really hoping there are. I'm really, really hoping we will actually see a Loch Ness Monster. If not an animatronic, maybe like, Velociraptor, like on Velocicoaster.
I'm kind of hoping in the tunnel section, maybe they put like some
projections. That would be so cool. Yeah, the tunnel is a big, long, empty space right now.
Yeah.
It's just dark.
It would be so cool if it was like projected, like monster stuff. It would be sweet. The
Loch Ness Monster, for those who are unfamiliar, is it's a historic coaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. It's probably the most historic coaster because it's an ACE landmark, and it is To my knowledge, double interlocking, it's the only one of its kind. Or if it isn't anymore, it was at the time it was created. The only one of its kind.
I think it's the only one still standing. There may have been another one.
That checks out.
We don't know our coaster history.
Not as well as certain others that will probably watch this live stream, but we do know that the Loch Ness Monster has been at Busch Gardens for as long as we've been going there. And I will say too, it's not always been the smoothest ride. So when they announced that so the new subtitle is The Legend Lives On. It was previously subtitleless, and now it is The Loch Ness Monster, The Legend Lives On. It's the full ride name. We're still going to call it Nessie. So Loch Ness Monster is getting an entirely new track, manufactured, recently published by Premier Rides, who so far, I think, and I could be totally wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure the most notable coaster we've been on from Premier Rides was Skyrocket at Kennywood. I'm not calling it Blue Rocket anymore. I made that goof. Yes. We haven't been to Kennywood in 3 years, but we really, really liked Skyrocket. We actually went on it twice while we were there.
Hey,
Blair, what's up?
Hey, Blair. We met Blair at Markov's too. I'm wearing a Markov's hat, Blair. I bought it.
Welcome in, Blair. Thanks for joining
us.
What was I talking about?
Loch Ness Monster. The Premier
Rides. Yes, the track. The track is going to be all new. So that's big news for us locally, and we were super excited. Now we were thinking, what's going on with Hershey Park? They usually kind of go hand in hand with Busch Gardens. There's a quiet competition between those two parks very directly. You can see one do one thing, the other has to respond.
I think Hershey won the new coaster.
Hershey won the new coaster last year with Wildcats Revenge, but in 2024, Hershey's response so far. This past year. I said this year.
You said last year. Hershey won the coaster last year.
It was this year, wasn't it? Yeah. I keep thinking Wildcats Revenge has been there forever.
Busch Gardens did Dark Coaster and Wildcats Revenge is Hershey.
So they were in direct dead heat.
Yeah.
But this year, I think Busch Gardens may win. Because what Hershey's doing is I don't have pictures. I do not. I do on my phone, but I can't show them to you from my phone directly. The Comet is getting new trains, which are very much similar to their old trains. That was announced today at IAAPA Expo. It was uncovered.
They are launching a new pass tier.
They are launching a new pass tier, so giant size pass will be a thing, and giant size pass holders, which we will be. Don't doubt for a second. We're going to go in on the highest level of pass because we go there so often. Giant size pass holders will now have a new pass holder lounge, so that's a cool little uptick. I think anyone who knows theme parks and coasters will agree with me on this. It makes sense for them to go a little lighter this year since they went so hard last year. This coming year, they went so hard in 2023.
This year we're in.
Listen, it's November. The year's over. But I think Hershey Park probably needs to dial back a little bit so that they can go a little bit harder next year. I have feelers out there. A lot of people are saying a lot of different things, but I know that Hershey is really striving to be the coaster king. With good reason, because they do have a good lineup. So we're hoping that in a matter of time, we will potentially have a new coaster coming as well. But I don't want to promise that because no one knows anything.
One final thought on Loch Ness before we move on. I just wanted, we were hammering on Six Flags and Cedar Fair so much. One of the reasons why we love Busch Gardens Williamsburg is we do feel like they actually take care of their rides, and the fact that Loch Ness Monster is getting so much love to bring it new life is wonderful. So I just think that's great.
Blair, we do not have that video queued up, so it's not possible for us to share it right now. But if anyone wants to see, Blair is actually an employee at Markov's Haunted Forest, and he was running around with a chainsaw while we were there. The Markov's video, if you haven't seen it, it's really cool what we got to do and walk around and see there. So definitely check that out. It's on our channel, and you will see Blair in there too with his chainsaw rolling around, giving some people a little bit of a fright. So it's definitely worth checking out. Okay. There's more coaster news. I only have the one picture, but there's more coaster news. So I'll just run through them really quick. Penguin Trek was announced for SeaWorld. It's going to be a family coaster. It was discussed very lightly in other videos, but we haven't had a whole lot of information. Today, they revealed the trains. They look like they're going to be very comfortable rides, which is suitable for a family coaster, because Icebreaker, I feel like, was a little too intense for a lot of people. This one is going to be fewer inversions, more just fun, like Hagrid style fun. It's going to have some theming elements that look really cool. So super excited for Penguin Trek, which is, again, under the SeaWorld Busch Gardens name. Top Thrill Dragster has been rethemed, or is being worked on, reimagined, I guess is a better word. It's going to be Top Thrill 2. Perhaps not the most imaginative name, but it does have whole new trains.
It's Top Thrill 2, not 2.0?
Nope, Top Thrill 2.
Okay.
Top Thrill 2.
The sequel.
Yeah, that was another thing that didn't quite rub people the right way. But it does look like it's going to be cool. We never got to ride Top Thrill 1, unfortunately. Yeah. We've never been to Cedar Point, but it is on the list. They dropped the Dragster, I guess. It is on the list. Yeah, it's Top Thrill 2. It's not Top Thrill Dragster anymore, but it is still a Dragster-style train. If you haven't seen pics, they just dropped today, the train. I know for a fact that Jackie from Super Enthused is at IAAPA, right, or was at IAAPA all day. Got to sit in the train and try it out for size, not, on tracks or anything, but got to sit in the train. So I have a hunch there will be a new video tomorrow that you can check out from her if you're interested in seeing those trains, or you can Google. They look pretty cool. The other thing that dropped at IAAPA today, I also don't have pictures of this, but Falcon's Flight, which is going to be the tallest, fastest, and longest coaster in the world. All in one. Do you know anything about Falcon's Flight?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm sure. No, you have seen renderings, but you haven't seen the actual trains.
Is this the one that?
Qiddiya. And to be honest, I thought that Falcon's Flight was going to be like a joke. Like I truly, when we saw the renderings, and I'm not the only one. Like a lot of people looked at Falcon's Flight as a rendering and were like, that's not possible. No one's going to do this. No one who would accept the insurance liability of this, but they're doing it. The Falcon's Flight trains have been released. The construction on the actual coaster has gone vertical. So now all that remains to be seen is whether or not Six Flags can continue to bankroll this enormous coaster effort with the merger underway, whether or not they're going to be able to take resources and pile them in there, and also whether or not that's going to impact the infrastructure and the maintenance of other parks here in the, because this is not going to be a domestic coaster. This is going to be international. And I don't know where Qiddiya is, but I believe it's in the Emirates. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I didn't do a whole lot of homework on the location because I was like, I'm probably not going to make it there anytime soon, but it's very far away. It is going to be a record-breaking coaster, and because it's moving so fast, it does have a windshield on the train, which is interesting. So all of that is news today, and it was a lot. I've spent like almost 40 minutes on theme park news, so I'm going to try to hit all of these different points rapid fire.
You've got the notes. I'm just listening.
You have the notes too.
I can't access them right now.
You chose not to. Okay. Disney, really quick. We're going to touch, we don't like to do a whole lot of Disney content on the live streams because we're not super big Disney people. We're more Disney parks people. We enjoy Disney movies, but we do not enjoy the Disney IPs as much as just like the generic stuff that we like to see at SeaWorld and Busch Gardens and all of that. So the Disney news as it pertains to the parks is that recently it was said by Bob Iger, the current CEO, that they were going to be investing $60 billion over the next 10 years in parks specifically. Now, that is not exclusively the domestic parks. There's going to be expansion, and already is expansion at Disneyland Paris underway. Hong Kong Disneyland has just opened Frozen Land. Tokyo Disneyland Disney Sea is opening a whole new expansion. It's going to be a massive, like, multi-property land that we're super excited to see. The Fantasy Springs area. This that you're looking at, this was announced at D23 Expo in September. Well, not announced. It's still a blue sky concept, but you'll be able to see why we think it's probably going to be a thing that's happening. This is Animal Kingdom, as you do not yet know it. Disney's Animal Kingdom Park currently has a land called Dino Land, which we love, but no one else seems to. And they've talked about bringing Encanto and Indiana Jones into the park in this new South American territory that is most likely going to replace Dino Land in somewhere in the next, I would say, 2 to 3 years. Maybe 4 for construction, but you'll probably see Dino Land go down somewhere in the next 2 to 3 years. I don't think it's going to be this year, but I think it's going to be sooner than we might like. A lot of people have mixed feelings about Dino Land. A lot of people think it's hokey and it doesn't belong in Animal Kingdom. And there is a backstory to why it's there. Supposed to be, along with the theming, like archaeological dig. And this was a carnival that they set up on the roadside so that they could have someplace to entertain their kids. It's really cute. And Dinosaur the ride, however you feel about it, it is unique. Indiana Jones, if it were to overlay this ride, will not be unique because Disneyland already has an Indiana Jones ride.
Literally, didn't think we were going to bring this up. And I was, honestly,
we just say hot takes.
I knew Dino Land was on its way out. It's unfortunate, but it's on its way out. But when they were like, we're going to turn Dinosaur into Indiana Jones, I about just walked off the earth. Oh, that's so nice, Blair. Thank you.
Thank you, Blair.
Get some good sleep, though. Yeah, I am not interested. Like, I'm so sick of the copy and paste thing that Disney's doing. Copy and paste Galaxy's Edge, copy and paste. I guess they're not really copy and pasting Marvel because they are doing kind of different things in each campus. But I'm so sick of it. And I love going to Disneyland to ride Indiana Jones. And I like going to Animal Kingdom to ride Dinosaur. So I'm not happy about Dinosaur being turned into Indiana Jones. Honestly, Dinosaur is so far away from Dino Land itself. I don't see why they couldn't just leave it and turn Dino.
But you can see, like, even if you're familiar with the layout of Dino Land, like, you can look at this and know exactly where everything's going to go. And it's all going to get renamed. Indiana Jones is going to be Dinosaur. Like, look at how far the path is to get from the pavilion to the actual Indiana Jones. Yeah, it's going to be, again, we could harp on this all night if we wanted to, because there's a lot to say. I didn't know you were
bringing this up, and now I'm angry.
But I think overall, like, I and people who have been on the live streams before may know this about me, and people who haven't been on the live streams before may get irritated at what I'm about to say, but I think Encanto was a middle of the road movie. I think it was okay. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't the best thing we've ever seen. It wasn't an untold treasure trove of new Disney content. And I did like meeting Maribel in DCA. I thought that was fun. I think she's a fun character. But I don't think they need to make an Encanto attraction first priority. Now, having said that, I'm actually fine with them putting Encanto down in Dino Land. I just wish they weren't retheming Dinosaur. Yep. I think Dinosaur is better as a distinct attraction. So overall, I would say I'm sad. I would be super sad to see Dino Land USA go. I really like the theming in Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom is our favorite Walt Disney World park. But I could live with the whole South American, and I honestly, I can come to embrace the South American area because it does fit very well thematically with Animal Kingdom. I just want Dinosaur to stay as it is, but it won't. Having said that, there is another Disney project domestically that is moving forward and has been moving forward for some time, and that is the Disneyland Forward project. Now, this is the most expansive concept art version of the concept art, I guess I should say, that we have currently. It is pretty involved, and you're looking at what's basically going to be a whole other theme park in addition to Disney California Adventure and Disneyland proper, that is going to be accessible by gateway through Downtown Disney and through DCA directly by going under Disneyland Boulevard. They are moving basically all of the parking lots out of the way and putting a whole nother park down. This has been approved. Construction has not begun yet on the park project. They have built a new wing for the Disneyland Hotel. They're currently working on Downtown Disney, which is the shopping district, and retheming all of that and adding new different pathways and stuff like that. So you will see Disneyland Forward eventually. It may not look anything like this by the time you do. Blair is on his way to Disneyland next year. It's awesome, man. Truly, like, the best Disney park
that we've been to.
That we've been to. I'm gonna stand by that. I really like Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever this new area looks like when it's done, as of now, I can tell you it looks very much like what Disney Sea is doing at Fantasy Springs. I was about to say Disney Springs. Fantasy Springs for actually, no, that's Disney Sea. Yeah, not Disneyland Tokyo, but Disney Sea. So we may see some copy and pasting done, which wouldn't be awesome, but we may also see entirely new attractions, which would be unique to the area.
Japan doesn't like to allow Disney to copy and paste a lot of their
That's
stuff,
true.
So I think it may have a similar aesthetic, but I don't think it can be.
It might not be one for one.
Yeah.
You might have to go all the way to Tokyo Disney Sea to ride the Tangled attraction. Okay. One more big thing, and then one little thing, and then we're going to move on. American Heartland Park. That's what you're looking at right now in concept art. Not a whole lot is known about this park right now. It's supposed to come down in rural, I think, and
Oklahoma?
I think it's Oklahoma. I don't want to say that out loud and then be immediately corrected.
Because they could buy some cheap land there.
Because it is, yeah, it's kind of the middle of nowhere. American Heartland Park. Opening fall 2026 is what the Instagram. So they're opening in phases if they're able to do what they're saying they're going to do. Oklahoma. Yep. Visit OK. So it's going to be a campground, it's going to be a resort property, and it's going to be a massive theme park that is said to be rivaling Disney
Isn't this
parks.
the like former Imagineers coming together to build a theme park or something?
Some former Imagineers, yeah. During 2020 and the regime of Chapek, a lot of Imagineers exited because there was a looming move from California to Florida, and some of them didn't want to go or maybe couldn't go. So a lot of them have moved on to other projects that were more remote or more flexible about where they lived and how they operated. So this was one of them. A couple of Imagineers came together to work with other brands to build an idea. And right now, to be clear, all this is an idea. It's a concept. No ground has been broken on the theme park itself. Some ground has apparently been broken on the campground, but compared to a theme park, a campground is super easy to put together. So I don't know whether this will actually happen. But if you're interested, follow along with the American Heartland Park Instagram account because they tend to post any developments there for the time being. A lot of us are following and waiting to see, is this going to be a real thing? We don't know because it seems too good to be true. And we've had our hopes dashed before.
It's kind of like that one UK park.
It's the same company.
Didn't actually
make a park. It's the exact same company behind it. Yeah, the London resort, which we've touched on very briefly before.
Never came
to fruition. It still might.
Yeah.
But we might not live to see it.
2025 opening, and that's not happening.
Yeah, that's not happening. So we'll see. We will see. I'm cautiously optimistic. I've never been to Oklahoma. This would be my reason to go. Last thing, and this is not technically theme park news, but it is theme park management news. This is Universal's new Halloween Horror Nights experience that is going to be operating year-round. Permanent. So it is Horror Unleashed was the official title that was dropped last week. I feel like it was was it a few weeks ago? Yeah. I feel like I'm losing my grip on time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Horror Unleashed is going to be the official new title of the Las Vegas location for Universal's year-round horror experience. It's going to be at Area 15. It's going to occupy several warehouses worth of experience. And beyond that, we don't know anything. Yeah. And Universal's trying to keep it that way. But if you're a fan of Universal's Halloween Horror Nights experience or anything that Universal does with any of its rides or attractions, this is going to be a must-do. Universal is also building theme parks in Texas and one other place that I can't remember. They're going to be very IP heavy and family focused as opposed to kind of thrill centric Universal parks that we have now. So they're expanding all over the map. definitely keep an eye on this. We will be keeping a very close eye on this to see what happens and where it goes, because we've been to Area 15 and it's already cool.
It's already got a lot to do.
It's about to be
You could
much cooler.
Spend more than a day in Area 15, I think,
and
already.
thousands of dollars. All right.
Horror season.
50 minutes into our live stream. We're gonna pivot.
We don't need to go too much into detail because we have done
a mid-season wrap up. So we are going to touch on some of the things we did this season that were unique and special. We're not going to dwell on every single haunt individually for too terribly long unless we haven't covered it before. So this haunt season, as you all may or may not know, we're big time haunters. We have become even bigger time haunters, especially over the last 2 years. And that's in large part thanks to the many haunts that have hosted us, that have invited us to see kind of behind the scenes how things work.
Let us join the haunt family
It's very much, I think what we like about haunts is the same thing we like about Disney, Universal, and true theme parks. It's the immersion. It's not like, you know, a killer with a knife in a room yelling at you. There is some of that at every haunt, but that's not all there is. It's the level, the depth of commitment that each of these haunts has to creating an atmosphere and an experience, and the way they go about doing it. So we'll touch on some of the cool things that we've experienced for the first time this season, but that, for anyone who thinks like the haunts may be a little bit too scary for me, you might be right. Everyone needs to move at their own pace, and we don't want anyone to be uncomfortable, but I would encourage you to get out there and try one of these haunted experiences with some close friends to see, because you might, if you like Disney, if you like Universal, you might find that you really like what we like about haunts too. So this year we've been to Field of Screams several times. We do have actually one more vlog from Field of Screams coming, which was the cap on our haunt season this year. That will be out this Thursday. And that video, I will tell you, is not going to be for everyone, because it's a much more extreme and intense experience than we're used to seeing, or you're used to seeing from us at Field of Screams. But we've loved working. We've been working with Field of Screams for what feels like forever now, but has really only been a couple of years. And we've really loved working with this team and seeing what goes into their haunt season every year, how long it takes to prepare, what's new and different, what kind of goes on behind the scenes to make this experience so unique. It's easy to see why this is one of the top haunted attractions in the country every year. So we're very, very thankful for them hosting us. We've also been to Laurel's House of Horror, and I don't think she's still on, but this is where Mandy works. And we were supposed to be at Laurel's House of Horror more than once this past season. This is one of the things that kind of went awry, and we'll touch on why. Nobody's fault. But we missed out on seeing a new development there, which was the opening of their bar, which we're super excited to see the next time we go there.
They've also had another escape room go live.
They've added another escape room. They've developed, or if it's not live, it's in development and will be live soon.
Yeah.
And they've also, this image, if you haven't seen our Laurel's House of Horror vlog, highly recommend you check it out. This escape room experience is highly immersive and some of the best craftsmanship I've seen in the escape game.
Yeah.
So it's more than just a haunt, as with most haunts. But definitely, we're so thankful to be working with Laurel so often as well. We love the team there. We love, they're particularly, I would say they're particularly inclusive as well. They did like a drag night very recently, which I thought was pretty cool. I honestly, I really would have liked to have gone out, but we had already made our plans for that weekend. So next year, I hope to make it to that. And we'll touch on next haunt season as well. But definitely, Laurel's House of Horror. It's a haunted movie theater. You can't go wrong.
And we'll be back for Christmas.
We will be back for Christmas.
So excited.
We did go to Fright Farm this season as well, which was the first time we'd ever been to Fright Farm. And that was super duper cool.
I have a thought on this, Kim. I hope we get back to it. I have a thought on this.
So Fright Farm was a super cool experience because it was the first linear haunt we'd ever been to.
Yes.
And that was neat. And it's linear in the sense of it has multiple attractions, but they're not individualized attractions. They are segments of a whole.
It's not really like separate attractions. It's more like, it's kind of like walking through a theme park where you're in the Frontier section and then you're in the Tomorrowland section. They have like little pockets of themed areas, but then there's also kind of they choose a theme every year that's interwoven in all of them. Plus there's the hayride in the beginning, which, you know, I thought the hayride was a lot of fun.
And
so.
On that theming too, there is one room in the interior section of Fright Farm that does change in its entirety every year, and they call it the big room. It is truly it's like a warehouse size room where they just build sets from nothing, which is really, really cool. And I think it is.
This is Fright.
Oh,
Andy, this is Fright Farm.
Farm
in Smithfield, Pennsylvania.
Manny, you missed us gloating on Laurel. It's all right. We will be more than happy to gloat on Laurel some more as we go. But yeah, this was Fright Farm in Smithfield, Pennsylvania, and they actually heard of us from our work with Field of Screams and Laurel's House of Horror, and they invited us out to see a behind the scenes. So we're super thankful again for them hosting us. If you haven't seen that vlog, I'm actually very proud of that one. I lost so much sleep editing it, but I got it out. I got it out quick. We were super excited to be there, and it's a really cool haunt, which we hope to include.
We kicked off the season at Field because they opened some of the earliest of any haunts in our area, but I think this was the second weekend, and it was a real treat.
And Blair says we need to check out Alderwood as well, which I have not heard of.
That's the one Paul told us about, I think.
He was talking to us about Nevermore.
Never mind.
Nevermore and Alderwood.
Keep feeding them to us. We'll get to them eventually.
Hershey Park Dark Nights. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this because people have seen our vlogs and people have seen other people's vlogs too, because Hershey Park is very accessible.
And another thing Hershey did this year was they really
stepped up Dark
Nights, so much so that we want to do it more than one night next year.
And we will get to next year's haunts plans, very loose and tentative right now, but there is some stuff that's already on the calendar, and Hershey Park is one of them. So Dark Nights is our local theme park haunt experience, and we highly recommend it. It is definitely, I would say it's 100% improved from last year.
It was
last year wasn't bad, but
it was very much okay. So does our friend. He was very popular.
I don't think I'm outing Kaylee by saying that he can slide into her DM.
That may have been said.
That may have been a thing that was said. Yeah. Anyway. We went to haunt for the first time at King's Dominion, and King's Dominion, incidentally, is a Cedar Fair park, which is now a Six Flags park. So the haunt experience, although we weren't able to record in the buildings, as was, it honestly is typical policy at any haunt. We weren't invited, we just went.
We're just hoping Hershey doesn't.
That's true. Hershey does allow you as long as you don't have a light. Anyway, haunt had, I think, much more production value than we were expecting it to, which is a high mark for King's Dominion too.
My one sentence hot take on haunt is scare zones and houses fantastic, shows fantastic,
food.
and then there's the fact that it's in King's Dominion, and that was just kind of crap, to be honest. Like, there was no food to eat, food lines were terrible, bathrooms were disgusting. It was like that was my take on haunt. Like, the actual
I wouldn't necessarily put the bathrooms down as a mark against King's Dominion, because a lot of haunts use porta potties, and the bathrooms will inevitably, as the night gets on, there's not enough people to manage those facilities. But
it's just like when you come from like Hershey.
John, welcome.
When you come from like Hershey and then you go there, it's like, okay, obviously these are under different management. The quality of the haunt programming itself was excellent. I don't want to say it's not worth going. You just kind of bring a snack, first of all, and just kind of be prepared that, like, outside of the haunt, it may not.
It'll be interesting to see what this merger, if it goes through, changes about the haunt experience, because Six Flags has Fright Fest, Cedar Fair has haunt, and they're very different events.
Yeah.
They're similar in a lot of ways, but they're very different.
Knott's Berry Farm does Not Scary Farm, and doesn't Carowinds do Scarowinds?
Yes.
So there are slightly different branded.
Again, those are the three golden children of the Cedar Fair line, is Carowinds, Cedar Point, and Knott's Berry Farm. So they all get to do whatever they want, basically, in every other Cedar Cedar Fair Park suffers a little bit for the investment that they make in those 3. But having said that, hopefully we will see positive change over the next year. Just to put it back on a positive note, I really did enjoy Haunt. I thought the entertainment was awesome, and I think the scare actors did an incredible job. They were on point.
Makeup, costumes,
Haunt wise, in terms of the Haunt experience,
it was fantastic.
It was fantastic. In terms of King's Dominion being the host of the Haunt experience,
not as fantastic.
We're wishing for better, but I will also say the scenery and the atmosphere was amazing. So I put that on the Haunt side too. Anyway, we did that. There's a vlog of it. We try to focus on the positive in our vlogs, so you'll get some hot takes on the live stream sometime. But we really did have a good time.
Well, I don't think so.
We also
King's Dominion is going to watch this live stream.
We also got a chance to do that with our friends Chad and Vanessa, so that was really that
fun. Made it everything worth it to get to hang out with them for a day. It was so great.
Markovs. I know you're still in there, Blair. We will. This is, I think, the last Haunt that I have in the slideshow. It was not the last Haunt we did, but we did do Field of Screams many times, so we kind of put it all under one. Markovs, this was the first year that we've ever been invited out to do a behind-the-scenes tour, to shoot some stuff on the trails and the actual experience. So we were really, really thankful. The managing property manager or social media manager, I think everyone wears a million different hats, but Paul from Marcos was the guy who reached out to us and invited us out.
Thanks to a connection.
We did have a connection.
Laurel's House of Horror.
Laurel's House of Horror and Markovs are good buddies. But yeah, we really, really appreciated them allowing us to shoot. And if you haven't seen our vlog from Markovs, again, please do check it out, because it is our longest vlog ever to date on the channel, only by a couple of seconds. But there is so much to see. The sets here are beyond compare, unless you're comparing them to Halloween Horror Nights. That's the next closest thing I can imagine or envision. This is not the best picture, but it is a picture I found of the Viking ship that literally sits on a body of water and it actually floats. It's not just like embedded in the ground there. Like, you can feel it rocking, and you can feel the sidewalks or the moving platforms rocking as you walk over them. There are 1,000 sets just like this one. There's a junkyard, there's a dollhouse, there's a Vecna style haunted house in the middle of the woods, there's the witches.
Spaceship.
It's amazing. And we tried to cover as much as we possibly could in our vlog, but I am absolutely positive that we did not cover everything.
Now,
because I had to cut out a lot.
This is where, Kim, if you're still listening, for people who are, believe me, I say this with all the love of my heart, scaredy cats, who do not want people jumping out at them, who don't want to be spooked because they just can't handle it. And, you know,
I know what you're going to say.
Markovs did something this year that they've never done before, but I believe they'll do again, where they did, what did they call it? Like Fright-Free?
No Fright Night.
No Fright Night.
Fright-Free Night is Haunted Overload, who kind of started that in the industry.
Haunted Overload, and New Hampshire does it too. But basically what they do is you can pay to enter the trail, and they welcome videos and photographs. You can just come in, take pictures, pace yourself through it, take a look at things. All of I believe, like, the lighting is the same, the sound effects may be on, but no one is jumping out at you.
No scare actors.
So
or if there's scare actors in scene, they're not frightening you actively.
And there may be places that are typically, like, not as well lit, that are better lit. So
Kim says nay. It's up to you, Kim. Anyway, we're not going to push anyone into experiencing something. But
just for anyone who wants to appreciate the builds and the sets and everything, like, it's really cool. But if it's not your thing, it's also okay to be not your thing. I just will say
the Viking ship is apparently not just my favorite scene. It looks like everyone's.
A lot of people really like it.
I will not betray the trust that the Markov staff have placed in us, and I will not spoil a thing for you, but there is talk of potentially modifying this scene in the years ahead.
Yeah. So if you don't,
we have a loose
it,
idea of what they're planning, and it's going to be crazy cool.
You might want to check it out.
But you may want to jump on it this coming year if you've never been, because the Viking ship may not be the Viking ship forever.
Yep.
Yes. Oh my God, you guys! I've been following along with your trip. The whole Laurel's House of Horror crew.
They all went to Haunted Overload. Oh.
No, they went to the whole New England haunt tour together, and I saw so many cool. I'm so jealous.
That's so cool.
I wish we had the kind of like flexibility where we could just like, oh my God, there's tickets to these 4 different haunts in one go. I am looking to do something like that someday, even if I have to take a week off of work to do it. But I'm
so glad you guys
jealous.
did that, because I always
cool
think like there's probably not a lot of time for people who work a haunt to
get out and do
out there and do other haunts. But I guess Haunted Overload stays open a little longer because I think
the New England haunt tour it's like a bookable experience where the haunts stay open specifically for that experience, and they all work together. So
well, I'm so glad you got to do that, Mandy, because I always think about you guys being tethered to your place of business for the haunt season.
I do want to shout out Gage, because he is a Field of Screams actor that has jumped around, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are a traveling haunt actor, so you actually don't work specifically for Field of Screams, but volunteer at Field a lot, and then travel on to different haunts around the area. So if anyone knows about traveling from haunt to haunt and not staying in one place. But yeah.
Oh, so it's a different. Okay,
yeah, they broke. It's like Ace, but for haunts.
So they're doing it in Ohio.
And of the two organizations, I would 1,000% join the haunt organization before I would join Ace.
Very cool. Oh, that's so exciting. We've only seen vlogs of Haunted Overload. One of our friends from Field went there too this year, right? Didn't Saf go to?
Yeah, Saf went to Haunted Overload in September.
Yeah.
Anywho's
Markovs.
We'll shut her down with Markovs here, but definitely, again, if you haven't been, this coming year would be the year to check it out, because every year things improve, things change, and one big change the following year will make this experience unlike anything it's been in the past. So if you want the vintage Markovs experience, make sure you get out soon.
But things will be different every year, and things will be building.
Yeah, and the experience is nothing but great every year. Every year. We've been going for a lot longer than we've been filming.
Yes.
But thank you, Markovs, and all the staff for hosting us, as well as all the other haunts that have hosted us. It was a tremendous experience, and we had a lot of fun.
We did.
Bada boom! So what went well this season?
Katie
got to scare act, which was pretty cool. I was supposed to. Then we'll get to that. But Katie was the one to break the mold. Yes. Traveling scare actor. Field of Screams has been an awesome experience. Hey, that wound up working perfectly with the slide.
I'm also a traveling scare actor. I traveled to Field once.
You traveled to Field and then you acted there.
And then I traveled away.
This video did not get as much traction as past Field videos because it came so late in the season, but I highly recommend anyone who's interested or maybe even curious about scare acting, check that out.
I mean, you know what I look like normally. How did I end up looking like that?
Yeah. It was super cool.
It was very cool. I always respect and still respect our scare actors, especially since I don't think it's a secret that a lot of them are pretty young. They're, in my 31-year-old eyes, kids. I call them the Field kids sometimes. But they're excellent. They're well trained. All of the places we've been to this year had just excellently trained actors. Shout out Laurel, Markovs, Field, Fright Farm, just fantastic. And we know that people like Mandy are constantly coaching and behind the scenes helping them out. I mean, I learned things like, hey, sometimes you need to take a break, or sometimes you gotta creatively hide your water bottle somewhere because it's important to keep drinking water.
There is a lot more going into the scare experience than standing in a corner and frightening people. Yeah, that is 100% true. And there are techniques.
And some stuff lands and some doesn't.
We learned from Laurel's House of Horror. I picked up a couple of tidbits from the acting manager over there that some of the techniques will, like, if you don't scream right and in the right direction and with the right cadence, you can actually wake up with like a raw throat the following day. And so like, I'll get to my scare acting. My scare acting is coming, spoiler alert, it's going to be at Laurel's House of Horror. But just the different approaches to scaring, the different types of scaring, the code of scaring, I guess, can vary from place to place. And we've been very lucky and very blessed to have a good relationship with the field staff for a long time. So it was cool to break the mold there with Katie's scare acting experience, but I am super looking forward to my scare acting experience.
I'm looking forward.
I got some things to try.
Yep.
I probably should have been paging through as a but that's scare school. Again, guys, if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend checking it out. We're very proud of how it turned out. It was also Kaylee's first time at Field of Screams. Yeah, our friend actually at any haunt. That was like a real haunt.
And she has a sister video to that vlog, Phantasmic Travel, that channel. So yeah. They
do train you on how to manage confrontations that.
But I did get some advice and training. The scare and retreat to, get out of people's faces in case their instinct is to punch. I will say,
and also so you can scare the people behind them.
Right. But I had I would say an overall safe experience, which is good. I know that's not always the case. We're always constantly talking to field friends, and they're like, "Yeah, I got spit on today," and we're like, "Sorry," but you do have to kind of use your instincts. Like I remember seeing this guy walking through the house, literally like this, and I'm like,
"You don't want to poke that guy."
I'm not gonna.
That
guy wants to fight, so he's just gonna walk through.
The one thing that is consistent with every haunt experience, and I'll say this is probably like the strongest bond in any industry short of wait staff. Yeah. The one thing that I have seen at every single haunt is that they protect their own. If you have a problem, if you're scared or worried about something, or you feel unsafe as an actor because of something that a guest or a patron is doing, the rest of the staff will rally around you, and that guest will be ejected promptly. Yeah. You will never be left alone. If you're part of a haunt family, you're part of a haunt family for life. And that is another reason we love working with the haunts that we work with, is because we're not really family because we're not there year-round scaring people like they are, but we feel like we're adopted
for a little bit, which is nice.
We did have a really great time doing more than one behind-the-scenes tour this year. We did one at Fright Farm, we did one at Marcos, we did one at Laurel, we did one at Field. We've done a couple at Field. And we've been really, I hate to overuse the word blessed, but I really do feel like we've been like blessed by the haunt industry this year. We've gotten to see a lot more than we ever expected to or ever frankly
getting to see so many of these places, lights on, getting to really take your time walking through and seeing the details, because when you go through, it is beautiful, the lighting's great, the sound is great, but you can be walking through at a faster pace. You may miss some things, so they put so much effort into these places, and I feel like a lot of it,
some of it is lost
when you're going through it now. But I mean, the purpose of the haunt is to be scary and walk through and be scared. So I don't want to make it sound like you shouldn't be scared and you should walk through at your own pace.
No, but again, this is part of what we love about the haunts. Like the art. It's carrying over the immersion factor from Disney and other theme parks.
When we were meeting the Markov staff, the first question we got was, "Oh, are you haunt reviewers?" And we're like, "No, we don't really review
haunt
them.
Exalters more than anything.
We're just like enthusiasts. We just like to look and shout the praises of your event."
Our channel, the vlog content, we can be a little bit angsty sometimes on the live streams, which is why some people like the live streams, because we get the hot takes. But generally speaking, Tim and Katie vlogs will always try to focus on the positive. If we don't like something, we might say this is an area that could use improvement, but we will never say this is trash.
Yeah.
If we come into a haunt, we're eyes wide, ready to be blown away, and almost every time that is the case. Yeah, we are blown away because the haunt industry as a whole is such a creative and immersive and atmosphere driven industry. Everything is cool to look at. Every process is a little bit different. Everyone has different talents. Everyone wears multiple hats. And what comes together as a result of all those different talents pooling is just so cool every time. Every time.
Yeah.
So, having said that, perfect transition actually. What went poorly this season? This is the one hot take. And this is nobody's fault. This is true. These things are truly things that cannot be avoided. As we get into post 2020, post pandemic era haunt season, we are finding that every year the weather gets worse, particularly during October. September can be very hit or miss, but October, we have found a lot of outdoor attractions do have a tendency to get rained out. And that actually happened to us at Markov. We were supposed to go much earlier in the season.
Make it to Markov.
We almost didn't, and we had to squeeze it in on the last weekend. We actually had to push something else off of our schedule so that we could make it, because we really, really wanted to go to Markov's this year. But outdoor attractions are subject to weather, and weather has been increasingly bad every October, seemingly only ever on Saturdays, which is when we like to go.
Like, we'll have a beautiful week, and then it's like it's raining on Saturday.
I will say, to Mandy's credit over there at Laurel's House of Horror, every time the weather got bad, Laurel's is an all-indoor experience, and they would constantly, I saw multiple times, every time.
If you got rained out at your outdoor haunt, bring your ticket.
Half price admission at Laurel's House of Horror. Yeah,
I thought that was so brilliant.
So cool and such a great idea. And I really think like more haunts should do things like that. Laurel's does an excellent job of putting on an all-indoor show and being very accommodating to outside traffic that may have been disappointed or bummed out. And the experience is well worth paying full price for. Don't get me wrong.
But if you had already
spent the money on a haunt,
so
it's nice to have a backup plan. It's nice to have a solid backup plan. I agree with this 100%. I have nothing further to add.
This check. There, you're too nice. We're not a million.
We're not
million
that
out
great,
of a million, but thank you.
Anyway, so we got rained out of a couple events. We had to shift our calendar around, and more we're finding that that's going to be the case. So what we're trying to do moving forward is plan a couple of indoor events and a couple of outdoor events, and then be able to shift them around.
Try to keep like one open weekend just in case for like weather reschedules.
Or sickness.
Or sickness.
Which happens every year. The reason I could not do Laurel's House of Horror, I was supposed to scare act at Laurel's House of Horror this year.
In like September.
In September. It was early October, I think.
Yeah.
But the reason I couldn't do it is because I came down with what they call field flu, where you're in from Field of Screams. We were in a house with a bunch of scare actors for a prolonged period of time. Someone has a cold, everyone has the cold. Yeah. So Katie brought it home and somehow avoided it, and I got stuck
Laurel
with it.
Being all indoors, we were like, we're not going there.
Yeah.
And getting like we can't take out their whole staff with a sickness, so didn't happen.
So it happens, and that's why I think we're gonna try. It's tough to schedule next year because next year we already have some big plans already booked, and it's tough to push things around. But we're gonna try moving forward for our haunt seasons to build in a little bit of rest so that we have the ability to flex around stuff like that. And that might mean doing 3 haunts in one weekend and pacing the video content out, because it's honestly, this plays right into my next point. This is not our full-time gig. We have terrible office jobs like everyone else. So we have a limited amount of vacation time. We have a limited amount of free time. And I have to spend a lot of that time editing in order to get the content out while it's relevant. So we may or may not be able to do everything we dream of doing every season. But if we can do a couple double headers and have content to pace out when we're not able to go because of sickness or weather, then we can just always go to indoor haunts like Laurel's House of Horror for the fun of it when we can't make it out to the haunts we had planned or, arranged to be out at, and we can still have a fun haunt season. Unless we're sick, in which case we just stay home and deal with it. I will get to Lincoln Mill. I will.
That is the plan. Oh, they do Christmas too?
They do a Christmas event. So does Bennett's.
We're full on Christmas.
So let's pivot to next year's, and we will get to our holiday plans to kind of wrap things up, which does include some spooky stuff. Oops, there's no backup.
There's no slide.
So I guess this was my talking slide. So next year, in addition to everything that we talked about doing, we have already received some invitations to some haunts that we weren't able to make it to this year because we were invited too late, and we had already put everything on our calendar. or because, we had to push things off our schedule, as we said, because of sickness or because of weather. So we're going to try to have a crazy manic haunt season next year on top of a big trip that we have planned, which will not all be haunt specific, but will land in the middle of October and will put us at several haunted events in a new area that we've never been to at spooky season before. So there will be one big trip that has multiple pieces of content, and then there will be ideally several different local places that we've never been. We have such a hard time every haunt season because a lot of places don't open until October.
Yeah.
And that only leaves 4 functional weekends to do everything you could possibly want to do in your area. It's really tough.
Yeah.
Especially if you get rained out one weekend.
We did notice that some people towards like the last week, some places, I start doing like some weeknight haunts, like even Field, I think, was open like a couple of Thursdays. So we might try to check out some of these more local to us ones, maybe on a Thursday night to try to add it in. We're probably, basically what we're saying is we planned, I think, pretty well this year. This was our first like going hard haunt season, and I think we've learned a lot.
And the other thing is, this year, part of what was different last year and the year prior and the year prior that, we've been sticking to places that were easy to get to in the span of like a day. A day trip there and a day trip back. Sorry, that's not 2 days. That's like day there and back in one day.
Like a few hours there and a few hours back.
If that. Usually, I mean, Field is only an hour from us. Laurel's House of Horror is only an hour from us. This year, we went to places that were as many as 3 hours away. And that meant staying the night, and that meant staying in the area, and that meant coming back and hitting the edit immediately in order to get it out.
When you're at Fright Farm for a 12 to 14 hour shooting day, you're not driving home 3 hours.
Right.
You're falling face first on your hotel mattress.
But you can't do, unless you have carefully coordinated with other haunts in the area, you really can't do 3 haunts in that same weekend because you've spent half of it driving. So we're learning as we go. We're putting some miles on the new car. We're traveling to new places. We really want to spend each season doing a couple of our highlights again and again because we love the haunts that we work with and we don't want to pass on them. But we also want to try to pave in some new haunts that we've never been to before. And to that end, we will not be making it to Lincoln Mill Haunt's Christmas event this year, but we do have tentative plans to visit the main season's Lincoln Mill Haunt next year. Lincoln Mill is in Philadelphia for anyone who is not aware. It's within, did I say that?
Yeah. Is not aware? Doesn't know?
Words.
Smoosh together.
So we are looking forward to trying out some new haunts. Lincoln Mill is hopefully going to be one of them, but we will see.
You're 3.5 hours from Field. Bless you. Like, oh my gosh.
That's Fright Farm for us. Like we can't make it out there regularly.
Imagine after scare acting for hours and then driving 3.5 hours.
Let's move on to something that Kim can talk about with us.
I know we're done with the spooky stuff.
We're done with spooky stuff.
Thank you for joining.
This week's one more plug.
Well, we're sort of done with spooky.
One more plug. This Thursday's video, which again will not be for everyone. It's a little bit intense, and I will put more disclaimers out there about what it's about and why. But this week's video will be the official end of our main spooky season. That is not to say we're done with spooky content. That is to say we will be moving on to holiday content, and that's what we're going to be talking about. There's some spooks interwoven. So, just having said that, Christmas Candy Lane has already begun at Hershey Park. We know that our friend Crystal has already been. We know several Hershey locals who have already been. We have not been. We are going this Saturday.
I'm actually excited for this.
Yeah, me too.
I think I'm finally like transitioning from my spooky season for 3 months into slightly into my holiday
know a lot
season.
of people who move on to Christmas on November 1st, and our hearts cannot take it.
I think Blackout was like a nice like bookend for me.
Yes,
like
I would agree.
I was like, oh, that was a good end, and now I'm like creeping into.
Kaylee went up gauge.
Kaylee will not be driving home from Field after that.
But she did go.
Yeah. But just more power to you, Gage, and your young body. I don't know how old you are. I'm presuming you're not 31 like I am, because that would kill me.
Anyway, Candy Lane.
Candy Lane.
Candy
I'm
Lane
excited for Candy Lane.
It's a lot of the same stuff that we've done in the past, but every year they add more snacks, more things to get excited about. This year they have Wildcats Revenge running in the cold, which will be exciting and fun.
So fun.
I didn't do a vlog at all when we were there, very briefly, for a comedy show most recently, but we did, if you hadn't seen our Instagram post, we did rope drop Wildcats Revenge on a Sunday, in between Candy Lane and Dark Nights, spooky season, and I
got 4 rides in before I felt sicky.
6 rides for me. I was trying to get 8, but number 1, the line started backing up after 6, and number 2, I was like a little greenish. I was like, no, that's it for me.
I have a limit.
We're excited to see how Wildcat runs in the cold, because it's already getting cold.
It does have a pretty Christmas light package.
It does have a good light package. We love Candy Lane just because of how beautiful they make the park.
Yeah.
Having said that, there is one park that I think is a little further away from us, but I think it arguably does an even better job making
Christmas
pretty light
Town
displays.
At Busch Gardens, Williamsburg
is unmatched in our area, in our drivable vicinity.
Yeah. It's just they just got a little bit more to work with. They have like Pompeii up.
They have more facades.
Yeah, they put all the way.
They have more empty facades that can be decorated.
They've added a lot this year.
They have
so much so we decided to go for 2 days.
Yep. So there will actually be 2.
You're really bad at doing the middle finger.
I know. It's not the middle finger in America. I just want to apologize. I just want to apologize to everyone. I don't like doing this because it makes me feel like I'm doing bunny ears in a funny photo. But this, if you do it the wrong way, it's bad language in the UK. So I apologize to all our UK viewers, of which there are probably 2. 1. So 2 days at Busch Gardens Christmas Town, and they will be 2 separate vlogs, I think we've decided.
Yes.
So we will pace that content out. There's a ton of new shows, new snacks. There's Cookies with Santa. I don't know if we'll be able to do that because it is a hard-ticketed event, but there's a lot to do. And we are excited to visit. We didn't actually get to go to Christmas Town last year because we had a big family trip we had to work in. So this year is going to be very much.
And we missed out on Howl-O-Scream.
We did miss out on Howl-O-Scream. I miss Busch Gardens. I'm really excited to get back.
Me too.
15!
Okay. I hope you're not offended when I call you a kid.
Literally half your age.
I know. Don't talk to me about that. I was 15 once. So were you.
The spooky stuff is going to be at our 2 home haunts, which we've already gushed about several times. We are going to Field of Screams Christmas event, where one of our good buddies is actually retiring after this event. And that's George, who plays Drunk Santa. So we're hoping to give him a good send-off. We will also be attending Krampus Night at Laurel's House of Horror.
I think this is the only Laurel off-season event we
have not been to.
Yeah.
Until they add St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
Mandy, St. Patty's Day.
Because we've done halfway and we've done Valentine's Day. Is there another one?
No. Those are the 2 off.
And then Christmas.
Yes. So, right? I'm pretty sure.
Correct us if I'm wrong.
Those 3 are the off-season events that Laurel does. We tend to stagger the off-season events between Laurel's. I will say this in favor of Laurel's. Anyone who wants to go to Laurel's for an off-season event, they typically, not always, but typically have at least 2 different dates where you can attend. And we've loved that about Laurel, because Field of Screams, where we also like to attend their off-season events, they only have one every season. And to be fair, it's tougher to rally for an outdoor experience than an indoor experience. Not that Field of Screams has many of the outdoor attractions open, but you do have to perform in the cold. There are many different attractions that are all spread out. So, having said that, we're looking forward to doing both events this year. We're looking first time.
Yeah, we haven't done Field Christmas either. It's our first creepy Christmas.
First creepy Christmas and first Krampus Christmas. And not for nothing, we've already hinted at it, this will be my first time being a scare actor. And Mandy has promised me that I am to be a creepy elf. So
I like that because we were gonna go clowns.
I already kind of look
before.
elfish.
He is
I got the ears
He
for
can
it.
do it.
Well,
Maybe.
I'm not gonna be Krampus. I can tell you that. I don't have the chops for it.
Turn him into Krampus.
I don't have the chops for it.
You don't have the chops?
They need the icons to do what the icons do.
I really want to know if they work with if you've ever considered working with the Baltimore Krampus people, Mandy.
Maybe I should do drag elf and be like, here's my support for drag night that we couldn't attend at the same time.
I feel like that's well intentioned, but will be very not well executed.
That's probably true. That's
Yeah.
probably true.
Yeah.
But yes, that is also true. So for the Christmas event, anyone who's interested in visiting Laurel's House of Horror, they actually have four nights. 4 nights of.
Maybe you should just stick with this.
I can't think fast enough to make the right.
So they do 2 weekends.
They do 2 weekends of
Yeah.
Christmas. So we will be there for the second weekend, and we will actually be there for the last day, but we will go hard on that day. Now, for the final holiday plan, it might be what some people consider to be past the holidays, but I do want to tease this because we're super excited. We've
excited for
never
this
done
too.
anything quite like this before. We don't spend a ton of time in Hershey proper, like the town of Hershey, Pennsylvania. We go to Hershey Park all the time. We spend a whole lot of money at the chocolatier every time we go. We've been to Hershey proper once, ever. And that was for the comedy show that we went to the previous weekend. So this coming...
Elf on the shelf. Oh, you just sit there and then you're like, okay, sorry.
Anyway,
Get
this
distracted.
coming New Year's, we are actually going to be spending a full weekend in Hershey because we will have off. New Year's Day is on a Monday. We will have off on the Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so we can do a back-to-back stay.
Yes, I'm so excited. we met them at was it Monster Mania?
Yes,
Baltimore Krampus.
Monster Mania, the Baltimore Krampus crew.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad that works out. I'm excited.
I am beyond excited for Krampus.
Yeah.
I also like, not to go backwards in time, but I also really like that Field leans hard into Santa and Laurel leans hard into Krampus. So
I know.
they're going to be
We're gonna
drastically
get,
different
we're gonna
experiences.
Get like different flavors. Yeah. So you're really gonna be an elf. Make someone pee your pants. Okay.
I mean, I'm not responsible for what other people do with their time.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to wrap up this thought before I lose track of what I'm thinking about, we're going to be spending 3 days in Hershey proper, the actual Hershey town. We are going to be going to Hershey Park as well while we're there because why go to Hershey and not Hershey Park? But
get that last day of our season pass then.
We've got, oh yeah, that is the end of the season pass, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll be giants.
We're upgrading the giant after that. We are super looking forward to seeing how Hershey, PA, the town, not the park, celebrates New Year's Eve. And we do have every intention of being in the big hub of people watching the Hershey Kiss go up.
So they don't do a ball drop. They send
do
a
Hershey
giant
Kiss
Hershey Kiss up, apparently, which I just think is the cutest thing. It reminds me of when, since 2 Tickets to Adventure have jumped in, Chad and Vanessa did.
Yeah, they want to know when we're caroling. Do you have an answer for that?
Tomorrow. No.
I'm busy.
No, was it was, I can't remember where it was, where they were for New Year's last year, where they do like a little anchor raising or something. Do you remember?
I do remember.
I think it's,
yeah, drop that in, guys, because I don't remember exactly where it was.
Where you live or near where you live, but they watch like an anchor get raised at midnight. So we're gonna watch the Hershey Kiss go up. I assume this photo is not taken at midnight because it's daylight and there's only like 10 people standing there. But
no, this is the press.
I presume it's
for the
you know,
testing.
hundreds of people in the town gather and watch.
Ha!
And
we'll be lucky if it's hundreds. I'm thinking thousands.
I mean, I don't know how big Hershey is, but we are excited for this. It's the first time we're actually doing something for New Year's in like a long time.
Yeah, we typically stay in and drink sometimes, and then we go to bed. Usually well before midnight. Yeah. Like we're the most boring as New Year's people.
I think last year we were up a little past midnight, but
well, last year we were in Hawaii.
No.
We were in California.
It was like our rest day coming back from the trip.
Yes.
So we were a little off our own schedules and stuff.
That's true. We were all kinds of sleep deprived. But this year we are going to Hershey. That's the summary. So we will actually probably not be posting any of those vlogs. There will be multiple vlogs from that weekend, and most of them probably will not be posted until January. But I'm super excited just to see with my own two eyes what happens at Hershey in New Year's. And this is a little tidbit, and it's not provable anymore because the video is now unlisted. But the video that started our channel back in the day was my going to Hershey Park on New Year's Day. That was our first ever vlog. So it's a little bit nostalgic for me personally. Katie couldn't go that day, so I was on my own.
That's when I worked a job where I had to work holidays.
Yeah, I did a half day, and it honestly wasn't as fun without Katie. I didn't particularly love
Didn't
solo
you ride
parking.
like laugh track like 6 times?
I did ride laugh track 6 times. I also rode the Chocolate World ride 9 times. And don't get me wrong, we are going to do that. But we're not going to do laugh track 6 times.
Help. 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 I don't know if I can do Chocolate World 9 times.
You can.
I don't know if I can.
You can do it. The cows compel you. All right, y'all. Well, we managed to get through everything, and
I thought we were going to stay
I thought it was going to be a 2 hours
for like 2 hours.
I thought it was going to be 2
like,
hours.
How much more are we talking?
Yes, I did notice that a lot of parks, or sorry, not parks, a lot of haunts in response to Gage's comment have started doing off-season now that they've been proven successful. It depends, of course, how many actors you can get and how quickly you can turn and whether or not your setup lends itself to building seasonal sets. But I would really love to see more haunts do Christmas events and Valentine's Day events and things like that. We're very fortunate in our area to be blessed by.
Valentine's Day was our first event that we ever did at Laurel's because we missed their main season last year. So it put a good taste in our mouth, so to speak, for lack of a better phrase.
And now I think in our area for Christmas, Lincoln Mill is doing their first this year, apparently, according to Gage. So you all can check that out in Philly. Laurel's is doing one. Field is doing one. Bennett's Haunted Curse is doing one. I've seen many posts promote a couple of New England haunts are doing their first Christmas events this year. I'm hoping it will become an industry standard. But there are some haunts that I already know of that can't physically cannot. So it may not be as common in some areas as others, but we are blessed to be in an area where it is becoming kind of mainstay.
One thing that we learned about Markov's is because it's a benefit event for the Kaleva Farms. Kaleva Farms. They're kind of they're locked into like basically 4, maybe 5 weekends.
Yeah, because we often get rained out in October. I did inquire about that. I was like, have you guys ever thought about opening for September? Because a lot of haunts do. And the response I got was, we pondered it. It's not going to be worth the cost of us getting an extended license.
Waiver,
because they do the Markov's haunts. For anyone who does not know, it is a charity performance. It is billed that way. And they get a limited license that runs for almost exactly 30 days. And they have said, like, sometimes we run over a week on either end and no one really cares. But if we run like 3 weeks over, then we got to pay more money.
Yeah.
So, they can pretty much only operate in October. And there was talk of doing a Christmas haunt at Markov's. We did talk about this with Paul too. And they said, initially, it seemed like something that they could totally do. And as the holidays got closer and closer, they realized there's absolutely no way we can pivot. And if we don't pivot fast enough, we won't be able to afford the license.
Yeah.
So, as we say, some haunts can't. Not that they haven't tried or that they wouldn't be open to it, but they can't. And so, again, I say we're very blessed to be surrounded by haunts that have the ability to do these off-season events on a whim. And still a ton of work goes into it. So I use the word whim very loosely, but it's just a special experience. It's different. It's unique. It's a twist on the main season, but it's so much fun. And it gives you something to look forward to if you're a spook or a haunter, or you have like a spooky heart that wants a little more Halloween, a little nightmare before Christmas. So we're super looking forward to going to the 2 that we're going to this year. I feel like we do remember you, and we might just not remember your character name, but I have a pretty vivid memory of most of the good scares I've had at most haunts. So yeah,
regardless,
definitely.
this is for like any scare actor that's watching our videos, like regardless of whether you make it into the video or not, like please know that it's not that your scare wasn't good or anything like that. It's literally just like we didn't have the camera pointed the right way. The pacing is off in the video, or maybe there was something wrong with the sound or something like that. Like
there are also times when we are requested to remove footage, not because the performance was bad, but because there was some kind of technical issue that the haunt doesn't want to advertise, or that the experience wasn't reflective of what they want to showcase. Those occasions are rare, but they do happen. Yeah. So like when we're filming at a haunt, you just got to know, like, not everything makes it in ever, but we try to go back to the same places again and again so that we can showcase more actors doing what they love. Yeah. So sooner or later, if you keep acting at the same place and we keep going to the same place, you will make it into a vlog.
But just know it's nothing. It's really nothing
we
personal.
Love everyone.
We always have a good time. You guys are always fantastic. So I really can't emphasize that enough. So that's just sometimes the camera doesn't catch it, but we know,
we remember,
and we were touched or scared.
I feel like we have exhausted all of the padding that we set up for ourselves by ending right on time. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up before we keep these poor people up any later.
Thanks for engaging in the comments, everyone. That was a nice discussion. We really have enjoyed our haunt season. We've
by the way, last thought, we have missed live streams.
Yeah.
They are, I mean, we do have to commit some time on Tuesday evenings, and we have to commit a little bit of time to planning what we're going to talk about and prep, but we always love interacting with y'all. So like, we're glad to be back. We are now fully back. The next live stream is going to be 2 weeks from now, right on schedule. So we're done with spooky season, like the hard, what's the word? Never mind. I'm too tired to think of it. We're done with the go spooky season. Yeah. So we're going to be focusing more on bringing the live streams back bi-weekly, which is every other week and not like twice a week. But we're excited to be back. Boy, that was a train wreck.
Yeah. That sentence got away from you, didn't it?
It got away from me, yeah. I do want to give one last shout out to our haunt fam outside of the haunts that we visit most often. Most of these listed here are haunt reviewers, but they all, like us, try to highlight the things that are special and awesome about haunt season. And as we are now transitioning to holiday season, we probably won't get a chance to advertise them as much moving forward. So before we move away, everyone check out Haunt Scene, Haunt Review Crew, and the Haunt Informer. All great peeps that we have met in our travels and our journeys to different events. In our travels to the bookstore and the comic convention. Name the movie, get a prize. All these people are great. I could spend probably 15 minutes talking about each one of them. We've had a lot of great interactions with other haunters as we've traveled, but these are the super positive, the people I think that align most with us in trying to find the positives of every haunt and trying to emphasize what makes each haunt unique, and really I think just appreciates the level of immersion and atmosphere to the same extent that we do. So we definitely want to shout them out. There are more. I'm not saying these are the only 3, but thank you again, especially to all of the actual haunt staff in the chat, which I know at this point we have quite a few.
Yeah, we've got
I assume
3 different haunts.
I assume that's a clown. But yeah, Mandy, Blair, Gage, anyone else who happens to tune in after the fact or might be quietly listening in now, we really appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We love being invited out to these haunts. We love showcasing more than anything what you do and why you do it, because that is what allures us and what we find most exciting about the haunt industry as a whole. So thank you for an amazing season. We are very much looking forward to doing more spooky stuff with y'all during the off season.
Get some rest. And for those of you coming back for Christmas, we'll see you then.
But until then, make sure to tune in to our next live stream if you have any interest whatsoever in winning a fairly significant prize.
We may have gone a bit ham on the giveaway.
Yeah. We're not a giveaway channel. We don't do giveaways
We're
weekly.
just
this is one, instead of doing multiple giveaways over a period of time, this is one big giveaway. The giveaway is going to be holiday themed. It is not going to be haunt themed. But next year, if this giveaway goes relatively well, next year we will have a haunt giveaway as well. So we'll do one per season.
Yeah.
But this year, make sure you tune in so that you know what you can expect to win, what the terms of entry are, and whether or not you stand any chance of winning. It's like $500 almost worth of stuff.
It's
now.
already a couple $100 worth of stuff, and
it's
we're
a
not
lot.
done shopping.
We're not done shopping. So
We're not done shopping.
Stick around. Until next time, guys, I will go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you all for joining us. And if we don't see you again before the next live stream, I've been Tim.
I'm Katie.
And every night
is a new adventure.
And we will see you again when we see you. Bye. Bye.